What's up, everybody? In this video, we are going to talk about what a run test is in Ironman training and then how to use it. If you don't know, my name is Nick Lawrence. I am a two-time Ironman triathlete and I am aiming to get my first sub 12-hour Ironman race this year. So let's dig right into this. A run test is basically just an all-out 5K that you'll do periodically within your training cycle. Now, periodically is different for different people, and depending on how much time you're giving yourself to train up for your next race. In my case, I have a race coming up this upcoming July, and I plan to do a run test pretty much every 6 weeks. And the reason I choose 6 weeks is because I have a very specific training program that I work on, and that is the Ironman Mastery Training Program. You could see the details in my description. But what this program that I made calls for is a very specific incremental increase in interval sessions that use the number from your run tests to drive the speeds that you're required to hold during your interval sessions. The goal of this is to spend as much time in a threshold pace so that you can start incrementally building up your tolerance of your threshold pace. And by doing that, the goal is that within 6 weeks of your steady and consistent training in the run, you will make improvements. You will be able to spend more time at this high level of effort than the previous 6 weeks. And then in the next run test, you will be able to PR or surpass your previous bests. So I did a run test this past Tuesday, and there's some things that I want to warn you about when you're gonna do a run test. Well, the first thing is basically you're doing a race when you're alone. So there's a huge mental aspect of performing a run test. So a lot of people honestly prefer to do their run test at an actual 5K so that they have a crowd and other runners to help drive them forward and bring out their best performance. So if you're new to running, or you're just not that good at mentally pushing yourself to go all out, and that'll be a second item that I want to talk about, just the concept of going all out. But if you're new and you can't bring yourself to go all out, then having a group of faster runners than you is probably the best thing to shatter whatever mental barrier you have of yourself and how fast you can run. So that would be my first tip. So instead of following my program to a T, allow yourself to insert your nuance to that program. So if you're giving yourself, I usually give myself 30 weeks to train up, but if you're giving yourself even more time where you're going to be going through several seasons where there's plenty of weekend 5Ks and 10Ks, you can pretty much spend that whole season racing. Again, if you have enough time, and you'll probably make more improvement than if you just train alone for 30 weeks. So just want to say that. My second warning is that mentally, to be able to push yourself to go all out when you're alone and you're just in your own thoughts is hard. And there's almost no way to know whether or not you are going all out, because after you're done with your effort is when you'll know how fatigued you are and how hard you pushed yourself. So in my case, in this past run test, what I did was I looked at my Garmin and I saw that my expected 5K was whatever this time. And so I set out knowing that I'm earlier in my training cycle, that my Garmin probably hasn't caught up to where my fitness actually is right now. And I made it my goal to beat that time by over a minute, which, you know, is significant. And I achieved that. I beat it by well over a minute. And I did way better than I thought that I ever would be able to do. And I pushed myself to the point where I was pretty much burning the whole time. It was a painful experience the whole time. I didn't enjoy it at all. And I finished out the test. I had the last 0.11 miles. Unfortunately, the way that I spaced out this run, the last 0.11 miles was uphill, and I held my pace. I finished out the test. I stopped my watch, and I walked it out a little bit for probably like 30 seconds to catch my breath before doing my cool down jog back home. When I tell you that just the 30 seconds of catching my breath, recomposing myself, and then getting back jogging, if I told you that my heart rate went straight back to normal zone 2 heart rate for that jog home, it made me feel like such a baby because I worked so hard and I felt like I was pushing myself to my absolute limit. I PR'd and I did better than what my Garmin told me that I could do. But by the sheer fact that I recovered so fast from the effort made me think that mentally I just wasn't haven't built up the fitness or the mental strength enough where I could push myself past the limit that I already set for myself before the race or before the test. So that's something that you might run into if you're going to do this alone. You're going to be limited by what your concept of how good you think you could do before you even start running. And this has a whole additional translation to, in the gym, for those of you who are more into like lifting weights, you ever hear somebody say like, how many reps in reserve do you think I had? And like most times, and David Goggins says this, like by the time you get tired, you have whatever amount of percent still left in the tank. And the only way to tap into that is the mental game. So just a word of caution, you'll probably PR and you'll probably have put in a great effort and you should be happy about that great effort. But there will come a time in your fitness where you realize that the limiting factor may in fact be mental. And sometimes the only way to overcome a mental limiting factor is by stacking up proof that you're more capable than you think that you are. But if you're going for the most accurate results and you're trying to push past your limits in the fastest way possible, then I would argue that it's smarter to put yourself in a situation where you can do that faster. And the only way to do that, from what I've seen, is by taking part in races with other people or doing your tests in a group with people that you know are faster than you that aren't going to slow you down. Like you don't want to get the negative benefits of running with people who might slow you down, because that's not what we're after. We're after getting faster. But keep that in mind. That those little two words of wisdom, just from my personal experience, are what I wanted to impart on you. So now, if you want to take your run test results and turn them into your pacing zones, there are several things that you can do. One, you can check out the Ironman Mastery Training Program that I have in the description below. Or you can subscribe here because I talk about this type of stuff regularly. Now for the actual answer. And the easiest thing that you can probably do is most of us have Garmin's right here. Most of us have been on Strava before or have some type of running app. In that app, you can put recent race results. Now, if you put a recent race result, oftentimes those apps like Strava, and Strava I know does this because it has done it for me. When you put those results in, then the next time you go run and you look at your data, it'll tell you what your pace breakdowns are. And in the pace breakdown wheel, it'll say what your zone 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 paces are. Now you can use that information to your advantage. Now that you have that information, you can build out your next workouts to target into those zones. And so on your one interval day a week, as I tend to prescribe, because we're not professional athletes and we need time to recover while also building volume for our race. On your 1 day a week, you can do your zone 4 and zone 5 intervals either on the track or as a threshold run on the street for time intervals. And by doing that and progressively building up over the course of however many weeks you want to space it out and just get your hard work in, because this is the hard work that most people are talking about when they're talking about hard work and training, then you will improve week over week and be surprised at your results come the end of the season. So that's pretty much it. That is what a run test is. Few mental tips from my personal experience with doing run tests, doing races, and what could be most beneficial for you depending on your level, and then how to use your run test results to develop your pacing zones. Now, if you like this video, please subscribe. If you have friends that you think would enjoy this, please share. And if you want to learn all the basic information that you would need to complete your first Ironman, check out my link in the description below and check out the Ironman Mastery Training Program. If you do get that, feel free, if you read through it, if you have any questions, email me and I will answer any direct questions that you might have. But for now, happy training and good luck out there.